on the Wealth is Gangster YouTube page, chopping it up. What up, Wealth is Gangster family? You know what I'm saying? Got a special guest on today. A Temple native, you know what I'm saying? He didn't expanded his wings and got out the state doing his thing, man. And
Yes,
he's
sir.
known for a lot of things. I was like, I'm 40, so I think I'm older than you, right? I'm
Yeah, yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, okay. But I heard about the your sports and all your accolades. I was already, ninth grade. I had got out of school and all that, so I ain't, grew up around there. But I've been hearing about, man, he was gonna make it and this and that. So I've been hearing about how you got some skills on that court and stuff, man. So you know what I'm saying. But yeah, we got Mr. Davis in the building today. We're gonna be talking about finances, insurance, and just a lot of things that got to do with financial wealth in our communities and how we can combat it. So
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna kick it to you. Let them know about a little bit about you, and just give them a little brief bio about starting from Temple and how you end up in Vegas now doing what you do.
Okay, for sure, man. Well, first off, it's a pleasure to be on the show with you. I thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to kind of speak and tell a little bit about my story and my journey, what I'm doing now, and kind of how we affect families and willing to make a change and a difference for people out there.
For sure.
As you know, we come from the same community, so I was born and raised in Temple. Um, Even ended up going to Temple College as my first college experience.
Okay.
Didn't really leave a hometown until I was 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But went after 2 years at TC. I was fortunate enough to get a college scholarship to Northwestern Oklahoma State, where I finished out my playing career there, and then also graduated from Northwestern with a bachelor in science in health and sports science, and then a minor in sports psychology. Um, and I actually had a teammate that I played with, and he did this internship out here in Las Vegas, which is where I'm based at now.
Mm-hmm.
And came back to school. He told me a lot about it, and it seemed like something that I was interested in doing because growing up, my dad, he always told me you need to go to school and get you a good education, and so you don't have to do the same type of work that I do, and you want to do something that doesn't feel like work. The story that we all hear.
Yeah. You want to do something? You do something you love. You'll never work a day in your life. All that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So naturally, what that was to me was basketball. So I wanted to be able to pursue that as far as I could, and so that's kind of what led me to Las Vegas. I did an internship here at an NBA training facility where we were working with top tier college level athletes that were there for getting ready for their pre-draft, and also high level NBA athletes. I was able to build some relationships, some strong relationships, and network with current players, some guys that were coaching. I mean, were playing and now coaching as well. So Vegas kind of became a home to me, a home away from home, anyways. And one thing about myself is I always wanted to explore. Like even when I was growing up,
Yeah.
I was riding my bike to the east side of Temple, all the way to the west side to golf courses and all those things like that. So I just liked exploring. I liked adventure. So as I got older, seeing everything else that the world had to offer was something that I was very, very interested in. And so, it's just basketball opened the doors for me to do that. I met some amazing people that I never really thought I'd meet or rub elbows with. Um, and basketball took me overseas to Eastern Europe, where I did a basketball camp there. And so, it was really just a huge opportunity for. It's kind of like my dad said, just take it as far as you can.
Yeah.
It'll open up some doors for you, and that's what I did. But what also I began to start realizing, um, as I was no longer in school and things like that, is just, uh, especially when you seeing people that have a lot of resources. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The resources to do what they want when they want. Their lifestyle was different. Money wasn't really an object, and having conversations with the friends that I have that played in the NBA when they're sitting around talking about making $300,000 every 2 weeks. You know, if it doesn't pique your interest or get you thinking differently,
Yeah,
you might want to check your pulse. You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? So, but just seeing that lifestyle, but also knowing that, you know, I watched my parents work very hard for an extremely long time. We never talked about money growing up. Schools didn't teach us about money as well, how it works, credit, how to leverage your credit, you know, life insurance, the importance of that,
Yeah,
uh, building a business, passive income, all of these different elements that are very, very essential when it comes to building a life. We aren't taught these. Um, so that's where, you know, my mind started shifting. I started doing research, looking for things on my own, and one of the players that I actually trained, the 10 years that I had been here in Vegas at the time, he played overseas. He was one of Colorado's all-time leading scorers for a good time. His name is Richard Roby, but he was a client of mine, and we built a great bond, great relationship on the court. And as he was transitioning out of basketball, he said, "Hey Cam, you know, I got a great opportunity on my table. I think it's something that you might be interested in. We got a lot of great value and information that we're bringing to people. I want you to come by the office and check out what I'm getting involved in." And off the strength of our relationship, without even asking any questions, I said, "Of course, man, I'll be there." And that education is something that I took advantage of right away. I started rearranging what I was doing financially.
yeah,
My the way that I looked at money, my relationship with money started to change. And then I'd say about 6 months later, you know, he and I talked again. We revisited the conversation and we talked about me coming into the business. So that was about 4 years ago now, 4 years ago. We've hit the ground running. We're building, we're growing, we're expanding our business and our operations. So it's very exciting because expanding in our business and what we do only means we're helping more people.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so you came up to the business. So let's tell the people exactly what your business entails and what do y'all offer to people and why this is so important. Why did it grabbed you to realize that it's so important that our people, well, everybody needs this, but our people especially need this information.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, um, what I have a business in financial services. I'm an independent broker dealer with World Financial Group, and you know our platform is not unique. It's a lot of different businesses out there that do similar things to what we do. But what is unique about what we do is our mission and our vision of no family left behind. So, you know, in traditional sense, most financial firms you have to pay anywhere from 1,500 to 2 grand just to sit down and have a consultation with them. And the majority of our industry targets the wealthy 1 to 5%. There's almost 70% of people do not have anywhere from $400 to $1,000 set aside in case of an emergency or an unexpected expense. So when we're talking about the majority of people in America today, they cannot afford to go to those traditional advisory firms, right? So even though we do help wealthy individuals, we target and our focus is on the everyday community that needs help in making more money. We teach people not only about the client side of our business and how these products are able to help and bring value to their life, but we teach them about the financial services industry, how people make money in this industry, how the business works. And if they see the value and the opportunity in that, they have a chance to be a part of that. So it's a lot different. And that's really what grabbed my attention. It's not just about how can I reach people and how can I get them to protect their family and save and do all of these things, but I'm looking for people who are interested in making money together as well to be able to build a business and an operation. Because at the end of the day, many people, you know, even though they got to work on savings or having and learning how to invest and how money works, quite frankly, a lot of people just need help making more money.
Yeah,
And so we provide the opportunity to help people increase their cash flow, build a business system that produces passive income, portfolio income, and then also, of course, life insurance is a big part of what we do as well. Um, personal experiences. I had an aunt that passed away at 32 from a car accident. Um, so sometimes people think, well, I'm too young for life insurance, or I don't want to do that right now. I got time. It's not the case. I've had I have three nieces. One niece, her father passed away at when she was 6 years old. He was in his late 20s, early 30s, and then my other two nieces, their father passed away in his late 20s. So those were real time and real life examples for me to. I couldn't ignore these things, especially when I got in front of the information. It's irresponsible to go through life with no life insurance when you got a family that depends on you. Or it's irresponsible to think that all my family is going to be able to take care of these funeral expenses and all of this stuff if and when something happens to me. And so I just didn't think like that. And so once I knew better, I knew I had to do better. And as I learned more and as I had more conversations with people needing help with insurance, needing help with getting out of debt, needing help with planning for retirement, I just wanted to be one of those people that pass along the information and help people avoid these pitfalls that we aren't prepared for.
That's dope, man. And you're right. I know I just buried my big bro, and he worked all his life, right? He was a worker.
Mm-hmm.
He only had insurance while he was working. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, indeed.
A lot of us get so comfortable because we're comfortable as workers, but we don't realize that if something happens once we leave that job, that don't go with us. We got to, so we need to have stuff outside of that job, outside of, even with the 401 and all that. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if they matching, but you need to have be with separate companies like you outside of a job that starts your own investing, that starts your own insurance policy to back yourself up. Because once that job fire you, like we had to scrape that up to get him, to send him off. And it's unfortunate, but because he was always told, okay, get out the streets, work. And I used to tell him all the time, man, we got to do investments, we got to do this, we got to have different stuff going on. We can't depend on that job because look how that job. I mean, a couple of his coworkers came by, but that job keep moving. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like once you're gone, you're nothing to them anymore.
Right? Yes, sir. They're gonna replace you the next day.
Yeah.
And you touched on a very important aspect. People don't think about what happens when they leave their job. Yeah. And just speaking on the insurance aspect of that, your life insurance at work is basically just a form of term insurance.
Yeah.
So whether you're at that job for 10 years or 20 years, once you leave, that term is over. And if you stay at that job long term for maybe like 20 or 30 years, you're potentially like 65, 70 years old when you leave. People aren't thinking about how much life insurance is going to cost for a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
Your health is deteriorating. You're a lot closer to that expiration date or that transition. So, you got to think like an insurance company. That's a large risk. So with large risk comes, more compensation. So you got to put more money up to get yourself insured. But if we were educated earlier on in our life about the value that permanent life insurance brings, and we got ourselves insured when we were younger, when we were healthier, when our insurance premiums were a lot lower, and then also educated on how this permanent policy builds cash value that can be used for supplemental retirement to go along with my 401k in a tax-free way. We aren't being taught these things. Yeah. And then we also aren't being taught how a 401k works. Majority of people think that it's great that my company gives me these benefits, but are never explained because, number one, they don't understand that company owns that 401k.
Yeah.
And they're getting a huge tax deduction for offering you that every single year. Yeah. That's their incentive. Yeah. And then they don't know that the 401k is variable. And when the stock market goes up, it's going to be performing well. But when it goes down, it's going to take a hit. In 2008, when the market crashed 40%, my mother lost 40% of the retirement money that she had in a 401k. And it took her over 20 years to get to that. Matter of a month or two, it was gone.
Yeah.
10 years later, her account was able to replenish and get back to where it was when she lost it. That's too long, especially when we understand how compound interest works. And then that 401k is also tax deferred. So what that means is if I'm at that job for 20 or 30 years, yeah, it seems like I'm getting a tax break every year when I'm decreasing my taxable income. But if I want people to think about this, do you think that taxes are going to be higher, lower, or stay the same 10, 20, or 30 years from now?
Oh, yeah.
More than likely, they probably going to go up, right?
What everything is, yeah.
So, so what we're actually doing when it comes to a 401k is we're letting a larger amount of money grow, avoiding taxes right now, only to be taxed potentially at a higher rate in our future. So you got a larger sum of money that's going to be taxed at a higher rate when I'm old and I need the money the most. That's a huge aspect of the education that people aren't being taught. And unfortunately, this is why we see a lot of people retire and go back to work, because they weren't properly educated and they weren't put in a position to be able to enjoy that retirement and not have to go back to work when that time came.
Man, that's key, because I was I'm gonna do an episode on my channel about, I was doing some research on 2 and 3 time retirees, and they were just talking about how people, when they retire, they just realize that check is not enough. They got to go back to the job, and some of them have to go. I just seen some people retire from 2 jobs and still have to. I'm like, hold on, how you retire from 2 jobs? You put 20 in here, 20 there, and you still have to go work at a Walmart or something for extra income at the end. Like, that's crazy. What up, Mike? Salute you, man.
Another good thing for people to think about too is we need to help people understand what their retirement goal is, and what we call your financial independence number. And a lot of people, in a majority of people that I speak to, have not met with a financial advisor, so they have no idea what their personal financial independence number is, and it's different for everybody. I've talked to some people that said, "Hey, man, if I got $3,500 or $3,000 coming in a month when I retire, I'll be good." But then we got people who want 10 grand a month coming in, or 50,000 a month coming in. So it's different for everybody, but we still got to figure out what that number is.
Yeah. So then you put everything in place and set up the whole system to get to that number.
Most definitely. So for example, if somebody wants 3 grand a month coming in their retirement, they need to have about 900,000 set away. That's going to make sure that they don't run out of money and don't have to worry about going back to work. And we also want to make sure that it's getting some good compound interest, so we can live off of that interest as well. If somebody wants 5,000 a month in income, they need to have about 1.5 million that's getting them a great rate of return. And so now, once we identify that target, well, at least we can see it. Now, what do I have in place that's going to get me on to that target? Am I on track? Do I got a lot of catching up to do? Do I need to increase my income so I can save more and put more away? That's going to help me get there. That's going to help us figure out, once we identify that number, then we can start to formulate a plan and a roadmap to be able to get there. But most people don't even know where they're going.
So what you do is, like, someone can come to you, and I got a job. I make $2,500 a month. I don't have a lot of extra income. Where do they start at? If somebody come at you like that, what's your advice? If I come to you, I say, man, I make $2,500 a month. I might can set aside 2 to 5. Like, what do you do when you're faced with that person in front of you? Because a lot of our people don't have that money, and the ones that do, even what I just said, 2 to 500, sometimes that's gonna be pulling teeth to get them to try to put that away. You know what I'm saying? So I always try to figure out. I understand the more we put in, the better for it, but I always come from a logic standpoint, realizing where our people is at, and just trying to get them comfortable. Because that's what I do when I talk to them about finances. When I talk to them about investing, I say, okay, well, if you go out to eat, you go to McDonald's 5 times a week, only go 2 now, and the other 3 start investing in that. So I always try to break it down real simple so they'll get it, and I put it in their practical life. You know what I'm saying? So what would you tell someone that come at you like that, thinking they can't do it, but they do need to get started? What's your comeback for that?
You right on point. You right on point, because in the beginning it's a mindset change. Most of us, because coming back to what we said earlier, most of us haven't been taught these things. And I'm a mindset person, and I know the importance of our thoughts, how we think. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of what we learn from the time we're born to the age of 18 is a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
And but we also go through a lot of trauma. We also go through a lot of misguidance. And these things that play effect into every relationship aspect of our life, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our friends, family, and our relationship with money. Well, think about it. When you probably been done this before. I know I have had a bad day, or something was bothering me. I go spend some money to make myself feel good. And people are going through different things. Maybe it's job, maybe it's something in the household or whatever. But they're after a bad day, I'm gonna go to the bar, have me a couple of drinks. Next thing you know, $50-$100 later, you done piss some money out the window, trying to make yourself feel good, only to feel worse later, and you done put yourself probably in a bad financial position. So a lot of it is mindset. A lot because getting on track financially has to do with your behaviors, your habits, the way you think mentally, like your emotional intelligence. So in order for somebody to, in my opinion, start really building that wealth, is you kind of got to break into that, figure out who you are, address some of those things that you might not want to, but you have to, because that's a lot of times what's getting in the way of your growth and your development. So what I look at though is majority of people, 50% of their income is going towards their living expenses. Another 25% goes towards taxes, and the remaining 25% of that goes towards debt. So as I gather their information, what's your rent or mortgage if you own, your car notes, insurance, what are you spending monthly on groceries? Do you eat out 3, 4, 5 times a week? Are you getting Starbucks every morning on the way to work? Your Hulu, Netflix accounts, all of these things. And if it's a stretch for them to currently set aside something with what they have now, well, we have to figure out a way to cut out some of these things. You eat out McDonald's or whatever, it could be easy $20. If you do that 4 or 5 times a week, that's $100 right there. We just found $100. If you do that every week, we just found about $400. See, there's an opportunity, but we just got to see it. Sometimes we don't want to make that sacrifice because it's comfortable and stuff like that. But we have to create a habit of savings first. Because if we don't even have that, we don't even think about investing, because when you get into the stock market and you don't understand how it works, and you don't understand the thought process of buying more shares when the market goes down, and then increasing the shares that you have, then when you invest and you see your money go down, you're going to panic and you're going to pull money out. And that ultimately you just lost, more money, because you didn't have the emotional intelligence to ride that out and understand, the proper ways to invest in your dollar cost averaging. So it's definitely important for us to create a budget, be basically your own personal accountant, start keeping track of where every dollar is going, but create that habit of saving first. And that kind of brings up why life insurance is so important, because you can create a habit of saving into a permanent life insurance policy. But especially if you don't have a solid foundation financially, you're one mistake or one tragic event away from financial devastation for your family. So life insurance provides protection, but also a place to start saving money that's going to get a great rate of return. And then you can try to figure out ways to increase your cash flow. Maybe you have a skill set, or you have some type of product that you can offer to people to make an extra $500 to $1,000. Sometimes people are like, I want to make extra 10 grand a month, and they want to do it now. No, you didn't have $200 to save. But because you're not gonna make 10 grand a month, you won't go out there and make an extra 500 to 1,000 that could change your financial situation. And so those little things like that, I find sometimes people don't want to do, but we want to be wealthy, we want to do this, we want to do that, but do we really? Because when we're presented with an opportunity to change and do so, we don't take advantage of that. So we have to do better at some of those things.
Yeah, and like you say, and that's what I preach. It's always mindset. I tell people, I don't care if you flat broke right now with no money in the bank, just flat broke. you're on your way to wealth if you sit there and change the way you think, the way you operate, the people you're around. That's your first path to wealth right there, is your mind, the way you see and do everything.
Yes,
So
sir.
I always tell people when they tell me, well, I'm gonna get with you, man, when I get my taxes, I'm gonna get with you when I get my check. I already know you're wrong, because you're if you wait till your taxes come, you're gonna have the same habit. But if I see you moving and thinking different and operating different way before they come, then I know once they come, you're ready. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, indeed.
it hasn't failed me yet, because all those people that tell me that, I never see them when their taxes come.
Yeah.
But I already know that, because that's just something for conversation piece, right?
Yeah, most
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying? And I
Most
know that.
definitely.
So go ahead and talk about, why do we need to fight against that?
Well, because we are creatures of habit, and we're gonna do what we continuously do. I made a post about this the other day on my Facebook. If you create a habit of smoking, you're gonna start smoking more. If you got a habit of drinking, you're gonna drink more. If you got a habit of saving money, you're gonna start saving more. You know what I mean? And so we just got to create that habit first. And kind of coming back to what we mentioned earlier, it's all about, dealing with some of those internal battles and struggles that we have. Find you a mentor, somebody positive that's kind of, doing some things that's going in the direction that you want to go to, and surround yourself with people like that. Sometimes, like, a lot of the times, what I see, and especially for me, like, I didn't have a terrible childhood growing up, but there were some things that went on in my family that affected the way I thought. And so I had to address those. Without addressing those, or actually I had to identify it first. Hold myself accountable, realize that I had a problem, and then, forgive myself, but then allow myself the opportunity to go and fix that problem. So I had to address it first. I think a lot of people don't realize, or maybe we just don't think about what our environment really is. Too many times we think about our environment as, what's around us, and it does affect our environment, but really our environment starts right here in our head. So if we can't clean up that environment first, it don't matter what's going on around us, because you can be in a terrible situation, but if you don't, as they say, the boat doesn't sink because of the water that's on the outside, it sinks because of the water that gets in. So if your mental fortitude is strong and you in the right direction and you focus and you determined, then nothing that's going on around you is going to affect what you see yourself doing and moving forward long term. So really tapping into that mental space, making sure you're mentally healthy, is going to be able to catapult you in a lot of different ways. Because no matter how much money we make, if we're not mentally healthy, physically healthy, spiritually healthy, that money is going to dwindle, because our character isn't strong enough to sustain it.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. I have a guy I always bring up. I said, man, I know a guy that makes $1 million a year, and he's brokered in the average person you see walking around, because his lifestyle is like you make 1.2, 1.3. I always tell him, it's not about how much money you make. It's a lot of people that touch a lot of money, but they end up with nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's just they buy, they rent out a car, they rent out a house, they doing this, they doing that, they at the club, they shopping, they this and that. So they touching a lot of money, but at the end of the year, when you look around, they don't have a dollar. So it's not about what you make; it's about the money, what you do with the money. And I always bring it up, like, I make a lot less than a lot of people, right? But what I do with the money is what's important.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And you said it a while ago too. Same thing. Like, we make more, but we go spend more. So even though somebody might, oh man, he doing great, he balling, like he
You
owns.
call it up.
But at the same time, like you said, he broke. His mentality broke, because he not saving, he not investing, he's not making sure that what he's bringing in, he got a certain amount allocated to set aside, where it's going to build and grow and work on its own. Because once whatever skill set that they had to accumulate that money, if you decide not to work, or you physically can't go out there and do what you was doing to make that money, you're gonna have to make sure that you got some money working for you.
Yeah.
Because once that stops and you can't go out there, whatever skill set you have, or whatever, physical labor that's bringing that money in, once you cannot do that anymore, what's going to take care of you? It's money. So business owners have exit plans. You know what I mean? They plan for retirement. Wealthy people have money set aside for their family and retirement and things like that. But somehow people who are struggling aren't making this a priority. Why is that? Like wealthy people aren't spending all of their money. They have a lot in savings. They have a lot put away. They have infrastructure. They have a plan, but
the tightest with their money.
Exactly.
People with the money are the tightest with their money. And people, when I be messing with people, be messing with me. I'm man, you cheap. I'm like, how can a poor person be cheap? Like we don't have nothing, but we're so used to spending what we got that we don't look at it like that. You know, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to make it cool where, like Dr. Boyce always say, you got to be willing to live a few years like nobody can, so you can live the rest of your life like nobody can. You know what I'm saying? Like, you live a few years like nobody wants to, so you can live the rest of your life like nobody can. Because most of us don't want to sacrifice. Most of us don't want to say, you know what? I'm not doing out to eating for the next year or two. I'm not wasting money on this. I'm not wasting money on that. And when you do that, people, oh man, you're missing out on life. You only live once. You do this, you know, all the crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, if I only live once, I really need to focus in and hone in on this. That's why I need to do that. And my whole reason why I started thinking like that, because it's like we're gonna be dead way longer than we're gonna be alive, right?
Right.
Soon you die, life keeps going on. Only thing you're gonna be remembered by your impact, by the institutions you build, by the stuff that you left in this world. Not by how much you spent. The store not gonna send you a RIP letter. Your favorite shopping place is not gonna say we miss you, and they're gonna keep it moving. They don't even understand that you're gone. you know
right,
what I'm saying?
Right.
But we gotta understand that, and that's why I would tell people. I feel like a lot of us, especially, you know, not to get on the religious thing, but I'll be talking to a lot of my religious people. I'll be like, I feel like some religious people are super selfish because they only worry about where they go when they die instead of what I'm gonna leave my people when I die. Like me, I'm more focused on what I'm leaving when I die. So I wake up every day with a passion, with a focus, trying to build, trying to do this because I know days are numbered. We don't know when our day is. So every day I'm on a mission to try to get to where I want to be at, you know. And I feel like we all need that. We all need to have that. Maybe my passion might be stronger than most people's, but we all need some part of that passion that we trying to build something and leave something for the next generations of our family.
Most definitely. And it's funny you say that because one of our leaders at our last convention was speaking about passion and purpose.
Yeah.
And what he said was passion is he doesn't like focusing on passion because that's emotional. So if something goes wrong and you get emotionally disturbed, then you're gonna lose that passion. But exactly. But he said, you know, instead focus on your purpose, and that's what I got from what you were just saying right there. Is you just got a conviction in your purpose and what you're trying to do. Yeah. And as you were saying that, I thought about myself because younger, being that I experienced death early on in my family, and it was you know, it was close to me, and I feel that I'm empathetic. So when a lot of things going around me, like I feel it, you know what I mean? I'm just one of those people that can feel everything from a person's emotions, how they feeling and everything. But being that I saw death at a very, very young age, and way I think about it now has obviously changed, but I was always scared to die. Always. But when I got into this business, and I don't know why, but when I got my permanent life insurance policy, I wasn't scared anymore. Yeah. And it's wild, but because you know, in our community especially, you talk about life insurance to somebody like, oh, don't put that on me. You know what I mean?
Don't jinx me, man.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know, at the end of the day, like it was just so much pressure relief from me because I felt my purpose was to be able to provide and build for my family. Yeah. Like my dad always encouraged me to, you know, be the best I could be, to go strive, go achieve the goals that I want to. But my family was always at the top of my list of those goals because I knew I had skills. I knew I had the ability to be creative and go out there and create and build. Now I found my purpose in what I want to build in, you know, that was outside of basketball. So when I got that policy though, like my mindset just changed because I was like, you know what?
So I'm happy to know y'all good.
I know y'all good. Like I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where
Yeah.
taking us yet.
At least I got
But
something in place for y'all. Now
exactly.
let me get more. Let me work on more. Let me add to what I got in place. Let me add to that now.
Exactly. So it just gave me so much more. Just my mind was so much more free, because that was the pressure. Really, it was like I'm trying to do this to create some financial freedom, and really at the end of the day, it's not the financial freedom that we're talking about. It's the freedom of time that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this to build the currency aspect of the finances for freedom of time for my family.
Yeah.
But if something happens in between that time, I know that I got something in place, and they ain't gonna have to be worried about anything. So you know what I'm saying? It just really, it was free for real.
That's real, and that's what we, and like I say, I communicate Miss Brown on her, and she's into the insurance and financial space too. And she has a lot of problem talking to our community. I mean, you know that, like we don't want to hear, like you just said, we kind of feel like, don't put that on me, this and that. But I think what I'm gonna do with the House of Resources, we're gonna be having seminars, workshops. We're gonna make these conversations like just regular, and the more regular these conversations become, the more normal talking about it and doing it. Like you know what I'm saying? We got to kind of like you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. You ain't got that. No, you gotta take, you're not setting up, especially as men. We definitely gotta put the pressure on each other to make sure we setting up, because we're the leaders. We're the ones that's really building, like our women doing our thing. But if the man's not doing it, most of the time nobody in the household is doing it most of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
most definitely.
we have to take that lead and make sure we got it and everybody else in our family got it. And that comes with the financial literacy, that comes with insurance. That's a long list of things that we need to make sure that we all have.
Most definitely. And you man, you keep saying stuff that just it just gets so it just comes down to leadership. You know what I'm saying? That's all that it is, because basically the man is supposed to be the leader of the household. Like no doubt your spouse is a leader too as well.
Yeah, for sure. But we know our role. We supposed to be leading the thing.
Most definitely. And we got a lack of leadership. Just straight up.
Straight up. Yeah.
In our community, we got a lack of leadership. And so that's also what I wanted to bring to the table. It's like I've been away, but I still pay attention.
Yeah.
And I see what goes on. I hear what goes on. I talk to my sister almost every day. I come back often. So, but I see where it's needed. I see what our people are missing, and it's like you said, it's the education. Like life insurance is not popular, but why not? Because if you go in a lot of other communities, it's very popular. And they've been doing it for a very long time.
For a long time. I talk about that all the time. Like I was saying yesterday, I talked to a Jewish guy. He was like, man, at 5 years old, we start teaching our kids how to run banks. And I'm like, I know 18-year-old black kids that don't even know how to open up an account yet. You know what I'm saying? Like we years behind, they're teaching them how to run a bank at 5, but we don't even know how to open up an account at 18. So we have to make, and that's what when I started the CL Youth League, you're right, Ms. Red. But when I started that, it's like, okay, I see Pop Warner football, basketball, baseball. Nothing wrong with sports. I grew up playing sports. I love it too. But why are we feeding 100% of our kids nothing but sports? And we know only half of 1% will ever see a professional check. That's just the reality. That's not me. That's not me being against you. That's just the numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
There's a million kids trying to get 300 jobs a year or something, whatever is open. I don't even know how many jobs be open yearly, but it's not that many.
There's over 300 in the NBA.
Yeah. But even hopping on that, I want to bend back to what you said, because it sparked the question I want to ask, because you're like one of the prime people for this question, because this is what I talk to my youth about when I talk to them about sports. Sports is great because it teaches you a lot of leadership, partnership. It teaches you a lot of great things. But when you're only told all your life you're going to make it in sports, and no one's being real with you and saying that, okay, your percentages are low, but you can if you do this and that. But even if you do or don't, you need to know about finance. You need to know about banking. You need to know about credit. You need to know about all this, even if you're part of the half of 1%. half of them end up broke because they make it and don't even know nothing about finances. Somebody rob them because they don't even know. So even if you do make it, you still need to know this information.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But what I want to ask you is about what was the moment when you realized, because you went through it real quick, and I have heard about you playing sports. What was that moment when you realized, okay, it's over, I'm not gonna make it professionally?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for something else, or it's time for me to kick it in gear. Was you already prepared? Was you preparing yourself because you kind of seen it, or it was kind of like a just blindsided hit you that you wasn't, or what was that transition for like?
Well, for me, it was always I always knew that if I didn't play professional sports, I was going to be coaching or something like that.
Okay.
Cause you kind of coming back to that conversation, you know, Pop said, because what I did was at 18, my dad had me go to Wilson Art and work there.
Okay.
So I did the swing shift.
Yeah.
My first summer there, where I was working the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then the next week the 3 p.m. to 11, and then the week after that the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And that was my first taste of, like, you know what I'm saying, some real grind, physical labor type work. And he after that first summer, he was like, "How was it?" You know, I'm tired, man. My body's wearing down. I'm standing on my feet for 10, 12-hour shift. I said, "Hey, Dad, you know, this ain't for me." He's like, "I know. I just want you to see that." Yeah. So now you know why I've been pushing you to make sure that you pursue what you want to pursue. Yeah. And, you know, that's one of the best things that my dad ever, you know, told me is just opening that door for me and just being transparent. Like, you know, my dad, especially in Temple, working at Wilson Art, was a decent income. You know, you can build a good lifestyle off of that. Yeah. But also you miss out on a lot of time. Time with family, you know.
You got to live up in there to make that living. You got to live up in there.
Yep, exactly. So what I saw was like, okay, I saw my dad, my mom work these 30+ years, and I saw them. You know, they always voiced that they wish they could have been there for this and that and stuff like that. So I was like, well, and then now all they want to do is spend time with grandchildren and family and stuff like this. So I was like, well, I don't want to wait till I'm like 60, 65 to start enjoying life again. Yeah. And so that's really what my mindset shifted in making sure that, you know, I really didn't want to, it's nothing wrong with having a job, but I highly encourage that if you do have a job, start figuring out some ways to transition into taking ownership of your life, because whoever controls your paycheck controls your life. And so, you know, if living life is important to you and doing what you want to do with who you want to do it, when you want to do it with, then start thinking about that. Figure out your exit plan, making that transition. But for me, when I saw that I wasn't going to be playing professional ball, it was easy for me. I knew I was going into coaching and stuff like that. And then I got into training as well. I love training kids. I love working with the youth. They teach me a lot. I love being able to give the value and wisdom that I have. We talk about finance. We talk about these different elements of life. And that's all things that a great program should be about, because like you said, not every single one of these young men are going to go play in the NBA. And even if they do, they still need some guidance, some education, some understanding on how money works. Yeah. So we don't have a lot of people that go through life making a decent income just to give it right back. Or, you know, if they don't make that, to not have another plan and to have that figured out. So another aspect though too is, like, I started to see the business of basketball, and you know, it's cool to be able to build a business out of training and developing and stuff like that. I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. Yeah. It made basketball less enjoyable, because sometimes you got kids that are great kids, you know, that want to train and work with you, but at the time, like, I had some clients that were paying me like $500 a month to work with me 5 days a week. And we're talking about kids here. You know what I mean? Not every kid can do that. Not every parent is in a position to be able to do that. So I had to turn people away. Or if I wanted to work out if I wanted to make it work, I could charge less, but I might have a group of, 10 kids. Then your product and the the energy and focus you can give to each individual gets watered down. And so it wasn't something that I saw for myself long term. Like other people make it work and they're doing great. Just for me, it wasn't something I wanted to do. So it just so happened that I got introduced to the business opportunity of helping families financially, and then building a business out of that, and being able to bring other people into your business, help them make more money and build a business for themselves as well. I like that a lot more, because no matter if I'm training, whatever the case may be, everybody gets up to go do one thing: go work and provide for their family.
Yeah.
But if you could figure out how to get enough money working for you, do you really have to go work?
Yeah.
No. So once you figure that out,
that's it.
That's where your freedom comes into play. So I was like, I want to do that. And then I'll just build me a basketball program, and I'll pay for the kids because it'll be a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I can give back like that.
Yeah.
And I can instill what I'm learning on this financial game and this education through the program. So that's where my mindset kind of shifted. And that's my big vision and what I want to see. I want to have moving forward, similar to what you're doing as well. So
that's powerful, man. And I look forward to us setting up, being at the House of Resources when you come to Texas. And I look forward to just doing, just building with you and doing stuff for the youth. Because I would tell you about the security company that I handle the business for that's based out of Vegas. So I'm gonna be coming out there, you know what I'm saying? So when I touch down out there to deal with them, I'm gonna pull up on you.
Yes, sir.
This is what we gotta do. We gotta. I get this all the time because they was like, "Oh man, we love what you're doing. We need more Black men doing this." And it's like we only show up as a whole. We only show up when it's sports. We don't show up every day for finance. Like I wake up every day just to teach kids about finances and getting themselves, in better situations. Like in parents too. That's why the Wealth is Gangster is like, it's like my adult version of the CEO Youth League. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the older version of that, because all we talking about is still, no matter if I'm talking to kids or adults, it's still finances, it's still mindset, it's still knowledge of self, it's still the way we conduct ourselves in the way. And it's not about being no choir boy or this and that. It's just about being a stand-up guy that's beneficial and providing positive to your community. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I don't do all these other where you need to be in church 5 times a week and you got to do this and none of that matters to me. What matters is in your heart and the impact you're trying to make on your community. That's all I care about. Like if you do want to be in church every day, salute you. If you don't, salute you. I don't get into that. And a lot of us miss out on opportunities and relationships because we do. Oh, you don't go to church, oh, man. Because I have people like that. I'm like, bro, I don't care if a person go to church or don't go to church, believe or don't believe. All I care about what's in their heart and what they're trying to do for the community. That's me personally. I know everybody got different things, but that's another one of the reasons why we stay at the bottom, because other groups don't do that. If you pull up talking about building, they don't ask you your religious background. You want to build for our community? Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I mean, you got to pass this test. You got to jump through the hoop. And another thing, we don't have to agree on everything. Right. Like if we only agree on 20-30% of stuff, let's build on that 20 or 30%. That's not fight over the 70% that we don't agree on. Let's build on the 20. And that's what me and Ms. Brown was talking about last night on our Bridging the Gap show. That's how we have to learn, because we wasn't taught this stuff. We don't know how to deal with each other. If we do some business and it go bad, we know how to just, oh man, it's your fault, forget you, instead of realizing that, no, this happens every day. We did something wrong. Something didn't happen right. We regroup. Let's come back and do something better, or let's fine tune what we already doing and blast back off with it. It's a lot of things it's a lot of reasons why things don't always work. We get more personalized and emotionalized, and that's just another factor that we have to learn. Everything is learning with us. We have to learn all this stuff. We're teaching how we react with each other, how we deal with each other. All that stuff is learning on the job, because we're mostly most of us are first generation people that's trying to run businesses, talking about finance. My mama don't know nothing about this stuff. She'd be like blown away, and I just be talking like, Mama, this is simple. We should all know this. But I get it, because in her generation, they didn't do this stuff. They worked hard. They went to school, and they just kept their mouth closed because they didn't want to ruffle up nobody's feathers.
Right.
Yeah.
You 100% correct. And it's funny you said, about going to church and stuff like that. Christ didn't even go to church. So I don't see how, I don't see how you could,
that in programs that we got to go, because it became a commercial. It's more, it's a business now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
a business, man.
Most
But
definitely.
I'm gonna have to wrap it up because I got a council session I got to go to.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, man. Maybe every other week. I don't know your schedule, but I would like to come on and continue to have these. And I definitely want in the background, I want to build on an event we can put together for maybe the summer or something. You come down, we do a couple-day workshop event and just deal with the community and just try to, see what we can do. And then just like-minded connect you with the other people in this community that's trying to make the change. And we can just mastermind. Like I said, I'm gonna be having masterminds and all kind of think tanks. Everything gonna be happening at the House of Resources, man. So that's what we're gonna be building about. But as we end this show, and like I said, I'll get with you off air to see if we can bring you on every other week or whatever your schedule provides, because this conversation needs to continue. What would be your last words as we end this episode? But we're gonna continue this conversation, but to just end this first conversation, what would be your last words to the people?
Man, just work on yourself. The betterment of yourself is going to benefit everybody around you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to go help people, even if it's family members. It's hard to go out there and help somebody when you can't even really help yourself if you don't have a strong foundation under you. And the intent is good. The intent is there, but, it's just work on your self-development, self-improvement, things like that. Because ultimately, that's what stands in the way of us getting to a lot of our goals and making those accomplished. So I always like to think about these few things is, my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, my social health, my communication. And I just challenge everybody to start working on those things. And I pray and I hope that, we all find what we're looking for, but make sure that you understand that it starts inside of you first.
How can they get a hold of you or contact your company or anything like that if they want some more information? Like, how do they get a hold of you for that?
You can find me on Facebook, of course, Cameron Davis, and then also on Instagram, it's CAMRN and then DAVIS. And my phone number is 254-563-5583. And then my email is lcdavisjr21@gmail.com. So
I put it all in the bottom when I post it too. So I'll make sure I go back and put all that in there.
Okay, absolutely. And what I'll do is I'll make it easy on you. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send you my link to my website as well.
Okay, I got you. And I'll make sure I put all that in there, man. But I appreciate it. We finally got this conversation out the way. I know we got some other business that we're going to do. And like I say, it's a potential business that we're going to do. So we're going to keep cooking behind the scenes. But like I say, I definitely, man, whenever we can, because this one was kind of like just introducing you. But I kind of want to go more deep into exactly what you do, how it's beneficial. And like I say, just making that conversation continue, because that's what's going to take for our people to really buy in. Because you say something one time, they're like, yeah, whatever, and then they'll forget about it tomorrow. But if we continue to have these conversations, if we having seminars, if we having workshops, if we could make this a part of everyday life, normal, I think we'll get bigger numbers and we'll get more people that understand that how important this is.
Most definitely, Tony. Most definitely. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you again. I appreciate you reaching out to me. Invited me with the opportunity to come speak. It's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to everything we got going in the future.
Yes, sir, bro. I appreciate you, man. I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for coming on, man. Thank everybody coming in, Ms. Brown, Brian Ward, you know what I'm saying? Salute. Mike, everybody that tapped in with us. P, everybody on Facebook that tapped in. I'll be sharing this in a minute, man. I thank you for coming on, and I'll be talking to you soon, bro. You take it easy.
Yes, sir. You too. Peace.